Hey everybody. That is freezing cold coffee. Okay, so I filmed this video twice now. 2020, new year, new me. Book review coming at you. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this book review short, and I'm not gonna give spoilers this time. We're gonna see if this works for me, because the last two videos I'm just like telling you guys, basically reading the book to you and giving my opinions and telling you exactly what happens, and it's like 30 minutes long each video, and I just feel like I'm not being concise. So I'm going to try my very best to do this book report style. And now I haven't been in school for like 7 years, so I haven't done a book report in probably 9, so I'm just gonna go for it. We're gonna see how this little book review goes with no spoilers this time. So, But Inside I'm Screaming. This is a book written by Elizabeth Flock about a woman it's about a woman who finds herself in a mental hospital, and it is about her learning about herself, learning about the other people in the hospital, reflecting on her past, looking into the future, basically trying to find herself and trying to find happiness. That sounds like a great book. It really does. That's like my kind of thing. But in my opinion, it falls flat. I give it roughly like a 3 out of 5 stars. One of the reasons I don't think it was an amazing book, I mean, I enjoyed reading it, but when I look back, I don't think the character development was all that great. I feel like it was very rushed for a lot of them. The main character herself, I feel, was pretty decently developed. You know, you get a sense of why she's in the hospital, why she's feeling the way that she's feeling, you know, with her past and her relationships with her husband and her mom and her dad, and especially with her work. Her work takes a really big toll on her, and definitely her husband. But the characters that she meets in the hospital, I feel like some of them are developed, maybe 1 or 2, but others she has interactions with that just seem very stereotypical and kind of just thrown in there to be like, dang girl, she's in a mental hospital, these people are crazy, you know. It doesn't feel like a lot of the people in the book really have any reason to be in the book other than to be like, all right, yep, she's in a mental hospital. So I just feel like the character development led me to not really care about some of the characters, you know. Her husband, 0 to 100. Her dad, it's just odd, you know. It's just weird, especially the way with the book ends with her father. It's just like, okay. And I'm trying not to give spoilers, so I know that's very vague. Okay, I'll move past the character development because I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to ruin the characters for you guys. I just will say that in my opinion, and you know, I'm not a professional book reviewer. I literally haven't read a single book in like 2.5 years other than this one. I have a lot more time to myself, so I decided, you know, I'm gonna actually be motivated to read a book this year. That's besides the point. Okay, so I kind of made like a pros and cons list. One of my pros is that the book gets kind of straight to it. She is at work one day, and then within a few chapters, she's in the hospital, which I appreciate. Pretty much the entirety of the book is based in the hospital. She's there and having flashbacks or memories or reflecting. I appreciate that. Another pro I have is that the character development for a lot of the characters isn't great, but Isabel herself, I love her inner monologue. I feel like everything that she is thinking, I would be thinking if I was in her position. She is very relatable. Not everybody can relate to being in a psych ward or being depressed and suicidal, but she wrote it in a way for it to feel like, at least in my opinion, that's exactly how I would think and how I would feel if I were her. So I liked that. That's one aspect that I really do like about the book. And I have a little bit more cons than pros. Another, like I mentioned with the character development, I don't feel attached to pretty much anybody in the book, really. I just don't really feel attached to anybody. Like, this very traumatic thing happens to one of the characters in the book, and I just was like, well, we barely even knew her. We just got to learning about her. You know, we just figured out what she's all about. I feel like a lot of the characters are very stereotypical or cliche, which I get. As an outsider, you can't relate to characters that aren't, you know, it's stereotypical for a reason, because that's relatable and people can understand it. They think, oh, that person's crazy, that makes sense. The book is kind of what you get. I don't know, it just feels very stereotypical and cliche. Another huge con of mine is the treatment that they use in the book. It just feels like the author somehow is like an advocate for it, or like this book is a testimony for why the treatment works. I don't know. It wasn't explained why it works. It wasn't explained pretty much at all. And it's a very like drastic treatment, so I don't understand why. It just was like, all right, well, here's an option. You're gonna do it. Oh, it worked. Aren't you so happy we did that for you? It just was odd. I don't know. It was an odd thing. It felt like a testimony for this treatment. I don't know anything about the treatment. It was like, for example, if they were like, oh, you have anxiety, well, here, take Xanax. And then the next page, they're like, wonderful news, the Xanax worked. And then that was it. I don't know. It just was weird. Okay, and I don't know if I mentioned this already, but I give it like a 3 out of 5. And the more I talk about it, the more I want to give it a lesser rating. I don't know why. The more I'm talking about it and the more that I'm thinking about it, the more I'm realizing on how much I didn't like versus I did like. You know, I did read it all and I enjoyed reading it. Pretty much. Some things had me like, but overall, would I recommend it? If you are interested in this kind of book where a woman is in a mental hospital and she is trying to figure out her life and trying to get out, sure. It feels like an adult book with adult content and adult topics and adult conversations written for a 16-year-old, you know. I don't know how to explain that. I don't want to say it's not sophisticated. I'm not a sophisticated book reader. I read young adult all the time, and I don't know if this is actually considered a young adult book, but it feels like it was written for like a 16-year-old. And I think if I was 16 years old, I would be obsessed with it. But now that I'm older and I know what a well-written book can be, I listened to We Need to Talk About Kevin in 2019, this past year. That is a well-written book and very good book. And that is an adult topic, adult conversation, you know, and that feels like it. It feels mature. And this book just doesn't feel mature. I feel like it misses the mark in a lot of important aspects. I can't get over it. Like, there's so many things I want to talk about specifically and characters I want to mention. And if you guys ever read this book, or if you want to read the book, I encourage you to, if this sounds like a good book, and then you guys can comment down below and we can have a little discussion or whatever. I don't want to spoil it because that's no fun, but I don't know. And plus, this is my first book review. I don't really know what to mention, what not to mention. I'm just trying to get the hang of it, and I'm kind of winging it because that's how I do things. And also, this is the first book I read in like 2.5 years. I listen to books all the time, but I kind of lost my passion for reading, and then I have so much time to myself now. I was like, let's read a freaking book, Laura. Let's do it. Ew, I just said that in the third person. I don't ever talk third person. But anyway, this is the first book I decided to, and I hope to read better ones in the future. I don't know. Anyway, overall, do I recommend the book? If this is the kind of book that you would be interested in and the subject matter, go for it. Is it the greatest book of all time? I don't think so. I feel like the maturity level doesn't match what it should be, if you know what I mean. Like, I have this book here, which is pretty similar of a book, but this book feels appropriate for what it is. This is about a young adult, or I don't know, I haven't read this in a long time, but look at my bookmark, dude. Apparently I was Team Jacob. Honestly, this is a book I feel matches its audience, and it's a very similar book. This one, I don't know if this is considered young adult, but considering the main character is a 35-year-old woman, they're talking about very adult topics. I feel like this was made for adults, and it doesn't feel like it matches the maturity level it should. I don't know what I'm saying, bruh. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Comment down below if you've read this book, if you're going to read the book. 2020 is my year. I hope to read more books. I hope to get better at book reviews. I have some exciting things happening today, actually. I've got some videos coming for you, hopefully. All right. I hope you guys have a great day, great night, great YouTube session. All right. Peace the frick out.